Hello everyone, my name is Albina and here is Atosha, Aska and Joachim.
And we've created a documentary about the ultra fast fashion industry.
Specifically, we'll explore SHEIN's huge impact on the ESG
and why understanding this matters for our future.
Every second, the equivalent of truckload of textiles is burned or buried in landfills around the world. Yet in that same second, fast fashion giant SHEIN is adding new product to its platform, part of the 6,000 new items they launch every single day. The story of how ultra-fast fashion became fashion's greatest environmental and social crisis, and why SHEIN represents everything that's wrong with how we make, sell, and consume clothing today. SHEIN started in 2008 as a small Chinese retailer. Now it's a global powerhouse shipping to over 150 countries and valued at nearly $100 billion. Its success relies on a test and repeat model. AI scans social media, predicts trends, and triggers production runs of just 50 to 100 pieces. Designs to go for concept to consumer in as little as 7 days, far faster than traditional brands that take a month. The result: over $30 billion in revenue and 44% of US Gen Z shoppers buying from SHEIN monthly.
So let's talk about SHEIN's environmental impact, starting with those shocking emission numbers. In 2022, SHEIN emitted 9.17 million tons of carbon dioxide. By 2023, that number had skyrocketed to 16.7 million tons, an 81% increase in just 1 year. To put this in perspective, while SHEIN's emissions were doubling, competitors like H&M and Zara were actually reducing theirs. SHEIN's emissions rose at nearly twice the rate of their revenue growth, making them officially the highest emitting company in the fashion industry. And why are their emissions so high? First, there's their supply chain. Over 99% of SHEIN's emissions come from their network of thousands of suppliers. But unlike other brands that ship via ocean freight, SHEIN relies heavily on air shipping to deliver individual packages from China to 150 countries. Air freight produces 47 times more carbon emissions than sea freight. SHEIN's products are predominantly made from virgin polyester, a petroleum-based synthetic fiber. The production of polyester is energy-intensive and relies entirely on fossil fuels. These synthetic materials also shed microplastics with every wash, contributing to ocean pollution. And according to Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the fashion industry operates on a linear take-make-dispose model. SHEIN has pushed this model to its absolute extreme. They are producing between 35,000 and 100,000 new pieces every single day, designed to be worn just 7 to 10 times before being discarded. The result? Mountains of textile waste. Less than 1% of clothing is recycled into new clothing. The rest ends up in landfills or incinerators, particularly in developing countries that have becoming dumping grounds for the global north cast off.
Now let's examine the human cost of SHEIN's business model. In 2021, Public Eye published a groundbreaking investigation into SHEIN's supplier factories in Guangzhou, China. What they found was shocking, but perhaps not surprising.
那以后都上班啦，有什么休息不休息？
这么要特别？3个月劳多少
3个月没发工资。
Workers reported working 75-hour weeks. That's nearly double China's legal limit of 40 hours. Many work from 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., 7 days a week, with just 1 day off per month. These aren't historical problems. Follow-up investigation in 2024 confirmed these conditions persist. The wage situation is equally dire. Workers are paid by the piece, not by the hour, creating intense pressure to work faster and longer. After deducting overtime, the basic monthly wage is around $330, far below the $900 considered a living wage in the region. Even SHEIN's own audits reveal systemic problems. In 2023, the company audited over 3,000 suppliers and found that 71% scored a C grade or below on labor practices. They also discovered 2 cases of child labor in their supply chain.
So let's talk about SHEIN's governance issues, starting off with the transparency issues diagram. SHEIN's governance failures reveal deep structural opacity. The company uses complex offshore entities to avoid inspections and accountability. In fact, the centralized supply chain adds to this, cycling production through untraceable suppliers. This diagram shows how its ownership structure hides true control and oversight risk. Moving forward with regulatory challenges map, in 2024, multiple investigations target SHEIN. Italy's AGCM launched a probe into vague green claims like evolution and SHEIN unknown. Meanwhile, the US and UK are demanding transparency over forced labor and sourcing practices. Going on with greenwashing examples, SHEIN's evolution line has been slammed as greenwashing. Greenpeace called it a new low. Their $15 million pledge to improve supply conditions equals just to 0.05% of annual revenue. Campaigns like SHEIN the No were also flagged by Italy's watchdog for vague and misleading claims. Furthermore, regularity challenges map shows that SHEIN's IPO plans have been obstructed. Attempts to list in New York and London face setback due to regularity scrutiny over labor and environmental practices. US congressional pressure and pending approvals from Chinese regulators continue to block progress. Once more, when it comes to transport issues diagram, unlike other brands, SHEIN offers almost no supply chain transparency, scoring just 1 out of 100 in the 2021 Fashion Transparency Index. Key details like factory locations and suppliers remain undisclosed.
Let's evaluate SHEIN through Carroll's corporate social responsibility pyramid, which includes 4 levels. First one is economic. Economically, SHEIN is successful, they generate massive profits, but legally they fail. Numerous reports show violations of labor laws and exploitation of regulatory loopholes. Ethically, they engage in worker exploitation, greenwashing, and misleading consumers. And philanthropically, their $5.3 million donation to textile recycling is just 0.03% of their carbon emissions cost society. Triple bottom line. John Elkington's triple bottom line assesses companies across 3 dimensions: people, planet, and profit. For SHEIN, the results are clear. People: exploited workers and manipulated consumers. Planet: huge emissions, toxic waste, and pollution. Profit? Yes, but built on unsustainable harm. SHEIN damages model puts profit first, hurting many others in the process. Workers face poor conditions, and consumers are pushed to buy more than they need. Local communities suffer from pollution, and future generations will deal with the damage. Even other businesses are hurt because SHEIN avoids rules that others follow.
We begin with a stark contrast: influencer hauls versus textile waste. But there's another story being written. Around the world, designers are creating a beautiful and sustainable fashion. Workers are organizing for better conditions, and consumers are choosing quality over quantity.
The science is clear. Fashion must cut emission by 45% by 2030 to avoid climate catastrophe. SHEIN is taking us in the opposite direction, but they don't have to define our future.
SHEIN represents everything wrong with fashion today, but growing awareness, activism, and innovation show another path is possible. The true cost of a $5 shirt isn't just price tag. It's paid in carbon emissions, worker exploitation, and environmental destruction.
Whether we can afford sustainable fashion. The question is, can we afford not to change? The choice is ours, and we must make it now.